Have you ever felt invisible? Have you ever cried into the darkness thinking no one sees, no one hears, no one understands? What if the very moment you thought you were abandoned, heaven whispered your name? What if the desert you feared would kill you is the place God chooses to meet you face to face? This is the story of a woman who wasn't a queen, a prophet, or a warrior. She was a slave, a foreigner, an expendable servant in a wealthy household. Yet she became the first human in Scripture to give God a name, El-Roi, the God who sees me. Her story is not just ancient history, it is prophetic, powerful, and points straight to the redeeming work of Jesus Christ. Hagar wasn't always a servant. She was born in the land of Egypt, Kemet, the Black Land, the world's most advanced civilization. She once walked among temples, markets, and the majestic Nile. But Egypt was shaken by strange plagues during Abram, and Sarai's earlier visit, Pharaoh's household, trembled. Servants whispered, priests panicked. Among the servants given to Sarai at Pharaoh's command was a young Egyptian girl named Hagar. What she thought would be a temporary assignment became a lifelong relocation. She was taken from her homeland, her culture, and her gods. Little did she know, God was orchestrating a divine encounter that would shape nations. Years passed in Abram's household. Hagar served faithfully, quietly, skillfully. She watched Abram build altars. She heard him speak of a single God who spoke back. She observed Sarai struggle privately with her barrenness. In ancient culture, barrenness carried shame. A woman's worth was often tied to her ability to bear a child. Sarai's frustration grew heavier each year. Though God promised Abram countless descendants, Sarai saw only her empty womb. Then came a moment of weakness, a decision fueled by desperation, not divine direction. Sons are built through maidservants, she told Abram. It is accepted. It is legal. Take Hagar. Let me obtain children by her. Hagar heard whispers before she heard the command. Her heart raced. She was young, voiceless, and powerless. What choice did she have? None. She was about to become a pawn in a plan she never consented to. Yet God was already writing a different story. Hagar was given to Abram, not as a bride, not as a partner, but as an object for reproduction. In the ancient world, a servant used as a surrogate gained a strange mixture of honor, responsibility, tension, vulnerability. She would carry Abram's child, but the child would belong to Sarai. This arrangement created a silent emotional storm. Hagar felt used. Sarai felt threatened. Abram felt torn. The household felt uneasy. Hagar conceived quickly, and everything changed. When Hagar's belly began to swell, her status subtly shifted. The servant who used to bow became the woman carrying Abram's legacy. For the first time, Hagar felt a trace of power. Maybe she lifted her chin a little too often. Maybe she moved more slowly when Sarai called. Maybe her eyes said what her mouth dared not. Sarai saw all of it. To a barren woman, every glance from Hagar felt like mockery. Every smile felt like rebellion. The heat of jealousy is a fire that burns reason. Sarai confronted Abram. My wrong be upon you. I was the one who gave you my maid, and now she despises me. Abram, caught in the storm, said the words that broke Hagar's world. Your maid is in your hand. Do to her as you please. Permission, power, control. Sarai afflicted Hagar, a word that later describes the brutal oppression of Israel in Egypt. Tables had turned. History was eerily repeating. Hagar was treated, beaten, and humiliated until she could no longer endure it. In the late hours before dawn, Hagar ran. No bag, no water, no plan. just pain. She headed toward the desert that led back to Egypt, the road of Shur. Walking into the desert, a death sentence. Why run into empty wilderness? Because sometimes the pain behind you feels worse than the danger ahead. She headed toward Shur, back to the only life she knew. Hagar thought she was escaping Sarai, but she was actually walking straight into a divine appointment. Heaven intercepted her escape. Exhausted, hungry, heartbroken, Hagar collapsed beside a spring of water. The desert was silent. Only the wind mourned with her. Then, for the first time in Scripture, something extraordinary happens. A presence so holy, so overwhelming, so radiant entered her despair. The angel of the Lord appeared. This wasn't an ordinary angel. This was God in visible form. This was the pre-incarnate Christ, the Word before Bethlehem, the Son before the manger. He called her by name, something Abram and Sarai never did. Hagar, Sarai's maid, where have you come from? And where are you going? He knew the answers, but he wanted her to speak her pain. I am fleeing from my mistress, Sarai, she whispered. He responded not with judgment, but with destiny. The encounter melts her fear. The angel speaks promises over her and the child within her. I will multiply your descendants. You shall bear a son. You shall call him Ishmael, God hears. Every promise drips with compassion. Overwhelmed, she whispers words no human had ever spoken. You are El-Roi, the God who sees me. A slave woman becomes a theologian. A foreigner becomes a prophet. A runaway becomes the first person in the Bible to see the living God and survive. The angel instructed her, return to your mistress and submit to her. It was a hard command, but not a cruel one. God wasn't sending her back to slavery. He was sending her back to fulfill a prophecy, to protect the life inside her, to secure Ishmael's future. Until the time was right, Hagar rose with new strength. Her desert tears turned to desert determination. She walked back with a promise, a name for God, a future, and a purpose. Sarai hadn't seen her, Abram hadn't seen her, but God had. Hagar returned and soon gave birth to a son. They named him Ishmael. God hears. Abram rejoiced. At 86 years old, he finally had a child. Hagar cared for Ishmael with devotion. The boy grew strong, dark-eyed, curious, quick to learn, and even quicker to run. Hagar whispered stories of her encounter in the desert. She told him, you are alive because God hears. You exist because God sees. But beneath the joy, an undercurrent of tension remained. Ishmael was the firstborn, the heir apparent, the pride of Abram's old age. But a promise still hovered in the background, a promise about a child not yet born. 13 quiet years passed. Ishmael grew from a child to a young man. Abram aged. Sarai watched Ishmael with both affection and unease. Then one day, after years of heaven's silence, God appeared to Abram again, this time with a covenant stronger than ever before. You will be a father of many nations, and Sarah shall bear you a son. Sarai, in her old age, the impossible was waking. But where did this leave Hagar and Ishmael? God answered that too. Fear not, God said to Abram. As for Ishmael, I have heard you. I will bless him. He shall become a great nation. Both sons would be great. Both would be blessed. Both would become nations. But only Isaac, the miracle child, would carry the covenant line leading to Christ. Hagar's story becomes a prophetic picture of humanity trying to save itself. And God providing salvation through divine intervention. Grace doesn't erase the past, it redeems it. When Isaac was born, joy exploded like sunrise over the camp. Laughter filled Sarah's tent. Women sang songs. Nurses cooed over the miracle child. Sarah held Isaac close and said, "God has made me laugh, and all who hear will laugh with me." But with laughter came a shift. Hagar felt her place shrinking. Ishmael felt his inheritance slipping through his fingers. The boy who had been the center of Abraham's world was now overshadowed. Jealousy kindled, tension simmered. Destiny was taking its course. When Isaac was weaned, Abraham held a massive feast, a cultural celebration of great significance. Noblemen, servants, shepherds, and foreign guests gathered. But during the festivities, Sarah saw something that ignited fury. Ishmael was mocking. The Hebrew word has layers: playful teasing, rough joking, asserting dominance, mocking the promised child. To Sarah, it was a threat to Isaac's future. Her protective instincts roared, "Cast out this bondwoman and her son. The son of this slave shall not be heir with my son Isaac." It was harsh, it was painful, but it was also prophetic. Two covenants cannot share one inheritance. Early in the morning, Abraham sends them away with bread and a skin of water. Hagar holds the hand of her teenage son, walking again into the desert. This time, she isn't running. She's being pushed, painfully, unfairly, unjustly. But heaven is not finished. The sun scorches, the water runs out. Ishmael collapses under a shrub. Hagar cannot bear the sound of his cries. "Let me not see the death of the boy." She moves away and weeps. This is one of the most heart-shattering scenes in Scripture. A mother losing her child, a young man dying of thirst, a broken family, an impossible situation. Yet, this is exactly where God specializes. From heaven, the angel of God calls, "Hagar, fear not, for God has heard the voice of the lad." The same God who saw her years ago hears her again. A well appears. Some say it was hidden before. God opens her eyes, and she draws water, saving Ishmael's life. This moment foreshadows Jesus himself, the living water who comes to dying humanity. As Ishmael grows, he becomes an archer, skilled, strong, resilient, a survivor, a leader, a prophecy fulfilled. Hagar finds him a wife from Egypt, reconnecting him to her roots. The boy who nearly died becomes the father of 12 princes, a parallel to the 12 tribes of Israel. While the world sees Hagar as a slave, God sees her as a matriarch, a nation builder, a witness, a woman who knew him intimately. Her story unfolds in the shadows beside Abraham's spotlight, but heaven shines just as brightly on her. Ishmael's descendants multiply. Nations rise from his bloodline, powerful, influential, vast. Little do they know, their story began with a runaway woman, and a God who sees Hagar's story is drenched in prophetic symbolism. 1. Jesus, the angel of the Lord. The one who met Hagar in the desert is the same one who meets sinners in their wilderness. 2. The well of living water. The well at Beer-lahai-roi, the well of the living one who sees me, foreshadows Christ telling the Samaritan woman, "If you drink of the water I give, you will never thirst." 3. Grace versus law. Paul compares Hagar and Sarah as two covenants. Galatians 4. Hagar, bondage, human effort, the flesh. Sarah, grace, promise, supernatural birth. Jesus comes through the lineage of promise, not by human effort, but divine intervention. El-Roi is not just Hagar's revelation, it is ours. He sees the single mother, the abandoned child, the mistreated worker, the overstressed father, the overlooked servant, the woman crying in the bathroom, the man silently drowning in pressure, the teenager feeling alone, the elderly person who feels forgotten. God sees you. God hears you. God knows you. God is with you. Even in the desert, every tear has a sound in heaven, Hagar's life teaches. God shows up in deserts. God speaks to outsiders. God values the lowly. God names the nameless. God pursues runners. God rewrites destinies. She becomes a symbol for every person who has ever felt lost. Beer-lahai-roi, the well of the living one who sees me. This well remained a well-known landmark for generations. Isaac would later settle near it, perhaps drawn by the story of Hagar's encounter. Imagine Isaac walking past the very well where God saved his half-brother. Grace and promise meeting in one location. Two stories intertwined, two destinies connected by one God. What began as Hagar's lowest moment became a source of life for future generations. Your place of pain today may become someone else's place of hope. Tomorrow, Hagar's journey began in slavery, but ended in revelation. She met God not in a palace, not in a temple, not in a moment of triumph, but in a desert of tears. Her life whispers across generations. You are not invisible. Your pain is not ignored. Your story is not forgotten. El-Roi sees you. Life lessons from Hagar and El-Roi. One God sees you even when others don't. He meets you in hidden places. 2. Running from pain does not disqualify you from purpose. 3. God speaks identity over the rejected. 4. Your wilderness can become your place of encounter. 5. God hears every cry, especially the desperate ones. 6. Grace chooses the unlikely and lifts the broken. 7. Your story can shape nations, even if it begins in suffering. If this powerful story of Hagar and the God who sees you blessed your heart, don't forget to subscribe to Joint Heirs Bible Stories like this video to help it reach someone who feels unseen. Comment below which chapter moved you the most, and share to encourage someone who needs to know. El-Roi still sees today.